And so this is the first thing. And the second thing, if you like to switch on your camera, we like to see you with silly Christmas hats or without. And also with nice Christmas decorations in the background, virtual or real. And I think we have Daniela Petrelli, who has a real background, not a virtual background. And we are really excited to talk about Christmas gifts. And I think I'm usually a very last minute person to get Christmas gifts. Hence, digital is really good. But I start with a completely different question, Daniela. Is giving Bitcoins to somebody, is this a genuine digital gift? Is it a virtual gift or is it not really? And perhaps we can go with this into what really makes sort of the virtual physical, what makes a gift? Oh, perhaps I forgot to introduce you, sorry. So we were already in the middle. So Daniela is a professor in Sheffield at Sheffield and Hallam University. She was coordinated a project where we had the honor to be one of the partners, and we enjoyed greatly working in that project. I see a few more faces who were also in that European project, and I think this is sort of one of these very nice things with European projects. Besides the scientific results, you get together with people who you would have never had otherwise the chance to work to, and you work very closely. And with this, yeah, we are very happy to have Daniela here. She's a professor in sort of on the, I would say, borders between design, HCI, interaction design, but she will say a little bit more herself about this. And now with the question, are Bitcoins a good virtual gift, and what does a really good gift? What is a really good gift?
Right. Well, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for inviting me. This is really last minute things, and it's for my scene that I replied yesterday to one of Albrecht's posts about digital Christmas, and I've done some work on digital Christmas and the potential for interaction design at Christmas. So my reply was a couple of phrases and then something like, see my published work, just as a teasing, and I ended up being invited to this event. And I really, really like it. You know, Christmas for me is something really special. My birthday was last week, so for me it's always been connected with something, a family, me personally, I like winter, so you know, all that package. And I've done a study, now it's probably 10, 12 years ago, starting at that time, I was looking into personal memories. And of course, Christmas is part of these personal memories that you build up from childhood. But they somehow, it's a strange phenomenon because it stay the same, but it changes at the same time. So when you're a child, you do certain things, and then a teenager or in your 20s, or when you start a family, and then you're getting older, and your role within this chain of life changes. So I've done this study with 12 families, I think was, asking them to record their Christmas. The idea was how we can use digital, because you know we have a lot of digital memories, a lot of digital stuff. So can we introduce this digital dimension into Christmas that at the moment is completely out? So I asked them to record their Christmas and then talking to me about what was important. And what came out is that, you know, every family is idiosyncratic. Everyone prepares their own Christmas in a completely different way, but there are a few things that are similar across. For example, Christmas is a tradition, you create some form of rituals, you know, taking out the Christmas tree or putting it away is a ritual. You prepare always the same food. My mom, and I will miss this time because I'm not going to Italy, but I prepare orange duck because it's my favorite food at Christmas. And you know, there are all of these little idiosyncratic things that every single family prepares in a different way. What was constant across everyone was the banning of technology. Christmas was the day to be technology free. And so I read also a lot about anthropological work on the meaning of Christmas and the different things that you do. For example, choosing the present. You choose a present for a person, and the fact of wrapping it symbolize the care that you put in choosing that things for that person. So for example, if you have a handmade present, very often you don't gift wrap it. You give it like that because the effort was in making the object. And there was an interesting thing about how digital is perceived. Is ephemeral, is cheap, is transient, while you at Christmas you would like to give something that represents the bond between yourself and the other person, something that lasts, something that shows the care that you have, the attention. So a Bitcoin is really the worst. The voucher is the second the second last, but the Bitcoin is even worse, because at least in the voucher you have a piece of paper with a number in. The Bitcoin is you can lose it immediately. You know, one of the things that we came out with that study is that all your digital memory, they end up in your computer and never come out, and you don't find them. Or maybe, yes, but not at the right moment. So there is a lot of space for designing around Christmas because of this ritual, for example, to take out stuff. You can put time inside. You can have a bubble with some content that has been captured, I don't know, 20 years ago, and that will be accessible only precisely at the time when the recording happened 20 years ago. You can create, we played with the idea of using the decoration of Christmas, but have digital content into baubles. And we did some funny prototypes using very, very small photo frames inserted in baubles. So you have to look into it. And it becomes a playful activity that you can do with other people. So there is a lot of opportunity for designing. For me, it's a kind of hybridity, particularly because digital, when you go on a personal level, the aesthetic of digital is really, really dry. So you need to mix it, to package it in a way that becomes homey. And Christmas is perfect. It has already its own iconography and symbology, and you can try to imagine. Albert was talking about mesh. In mesh, what we did was to develop a platform that would allow you to create hybrid objects, physical, digital. That would be perfect. You will make your digital Christmas in a physical form to give to someone.
I would have a follow-up, sometimes I get as present, or I give as present something which is an event, having a candlelit dinner or going to, a holiday weekend. So an event could be completely digital, we could have a dinner in Mozilla Hubs, or I could sing you a song. And I guess this has some value, and it's kind of handmade. So what is your opinion on that?
There is always a way to, even to package the completely digitally in a physical way. The physicality is a way for you to be reminded of something that is precious to you. So, could be the holiday. Could be the Christmas, could be any other things, but the fact that you give to them a special place. If you look around your house, what you have there is something that you have selected because you like it, because it's important for you. You have memory associated with that, or just aesthetic. So the physicality around us is from one side a reminder of something that is important to us. So if you associate not only the memory, you could associate something digital. You are talking about the dinner, a special dinner. Then could be in theory you can capture it with the smell. Something that we considered at that time that would be very, very curious and interesting to do is to have a centerpiece for the Christmas lunch or Christmas dinner, whatever you celebrate, with a camera that pops out takes a 360-degree pictures and then disappears. And so you have an instant of what was happening around the table at that time. And you can play with, for example, you could record it with, use triggers like sound trigger. If there is a laughter, make sure that you capture, I don't know, the 2 minutes before the laughter. There is a lot of serendipity around Christmas. One thing that we did, an experiment that I still have to write it up, although probably 10 years ago we did it. So we gave to families, the same family that took part in the first study, we gave them sound bubbles so they could record what was happening at that time in their family. And it was very interesting to see how the different families used it. So the teenagers used that as a prank to be played to the older generation. And the parents were really, really annoyed because we ended up not having the possibility of deleting. And that was, for us, was something interesting and playful. So you record something, but you would never be able to delete that things because, you know, the button was concealed. And immediately after, the parents were really annoyed with the teenagers. But 10 years after, down the line, probably their perception of that time would change. So
would you say that memory always needs an artifact? Because I'm, like you said, I may have lots of stuff in my place, which is not the case. So everything
young.
is not important to me, I guess, or otherwise I would know. But this is probably like more style thing. Eva posted the question, and I think we promised that this conversation is more interactive. So Eva, do you want just to read it loud? You can switch your mic on, and we want to have it more an interactive conversation. So just bring.
I think, Katrin, your audio is pretty hard to understand. So I put one question in between, and then Eva should be able to unmute. So I just want to follow up on Katrin's original question. So assume I give somebody I send somebody an invitation to a all online concert. We can go together. So at no point there is a digital, at no point there's a physical artifact. So I sent to my wife an invitation to go jointly to a digital concert, an online concert. Would this not work? Would this in your eyes be because that's purely digital? It is an event that's even transient, so there will be no nothing physical to take away. So that the entrance card will be not something I can put on a pin board or so. It will be the invite will go through whatever it's WhatsApp, and it will be probably a Zoom link or whatever. So the whole experience is digital, but I would argue it could still be something which is a gift, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. What I'm talking is the reminder. You know, how do you remind this person that that was a precious time? Can you have something in your life that you bump into it in a drawer? No, it doesn't have to be physically on display. It could be something that you have in a drawer that you open, you see once every 5 years, 10 years. But that is of value to you, and that is a reminder of that. You know, you could have files in your, something that I found in my study about personal memories. You have, of course it is in your memory, but it's the way to revisit this type of thing that is important. So triggers that allows you to revisit and to rethink about this pleasing time, those elements are important. And if you have them embodied in some physical object, something that reminds you of that event, that is something that you are constantly reminded of something precious to you. You know, memory is a strange thing. It's not, there was a while back, 10 years ago, we were thinking of memory as a library. You just need a code and you go and open a drawer and all your memory will be there packaged perfect. While that is not the way memory works. You remember better the thing that you have rethought, revisited in your mind over and over.
So I think just one to complete this one. Does a gift always need to create a memory, or could it be just something which is the moment I give something, the moment I enjoy? Do I really need to have, basically, I think if I give physical gifts, they create this long-term relationship. But could I not give something? I could basically buy somebody an ice cream, which is in the physical space. Could I do something? And this may be something really nice in that moment, but it's sort of it only creates a memory in sort of my mind, and that's probably the individual memory is forgotten. But if I do this a lot, I create a bond. Is sort of this memory overrated, or sort of because of the physical? And I think then really, Eva, now we have worked out that you could unmute. So
I keep the one answering, but if anyone wants to jump in, please do. No, is the, you know, you might not have anything physical. The fact that you think about trauma is one of the typical things. You know, if you have been traumatized, there might be not anything around you reminding you of your trauma, but in your mind you go through it over and over, so it's still very fresh and strong in your mind. The fact is that, you know, we tend not to think about the thing, even the pleasant thing, unless we pause to be reminded about that. So if you are able to, I know a few people that in very sad time, what they do is to think about positive times of their life, positive experiences, special holiday or special concert or something, you know, that was strongly emotional for you. And that is important. So no, you don't need a physical element. The physical element is something that helps you in reusing your memory in a positive way.
okay, let's move to Eva, please.
Yeah, because you were saying that, talking about stuff in your home, and Katrin kind of hinted at that before. That made me wonder. I mean, I know we are both, I guess, fairly similar in putting stuff everywhere and liking to collect nice things, but if I look in my office and walk into my colleagues' offices, normally they're computer scientists, and it's like bare naked walls, no books, no memories of anything. For me, it's completely strange and foreign. It would look like they've just moved in. You wouldn't even be able to tell whose office it is. So I'm wondering if there's individual differences that maybe for some people the physical is much more important.
Definitely, you know, we are really idiosyncratic on the thing that we do, but also you're talking about your computer, sorry, your room being very clean. Look at what people do with their emails. I know that Albrecht is like me with an incredibly enormous, ginormous inbox, and we are the pilers, while the filers are those for which the inbox is completely clean, because every single email is sorted immediately, automatically or manually, into their folder. So, you know, we are all very individual people, and the approach is very different, and the meaning of the office as well. For some people is you know, you go, you do your work, you go away. In some, for other people is the place where they live. They leave the place of the office as an important piece of their life. So it's not accepting. They don't mind to expose themselves with different objects in there. And if you talk to architects, for example, there is a lot of symbolism in the office, the layout of the office to show, you know, the importance of a certain person, how much you are allowed to decorate it. You know, there are places, in theory, in my office, I'm not allowed to hang something on the wall because I could ruin the paint. So do you challenge that? Do you hang stuff? I do. But, you know, in theory, I'm not allowed to have things hanging on the wall.
They have the same layout, and they actually spend more time in their office than I ever do, some of them. It seems to really be a personal decision that they think that's enough, they don't need that.
Perhaps they have more digital artifacts than you have. And I think with this, we move on to Louis.
Yeah, so I was thinking, Daniela, you were talking about your study that you did. So many years have passed, well, 10 years, I guess in technology speak, there is quite long. And there's more and more digital in how we mark these rituals, from sending greetings over, digital messages instead of cards to taking pictures. This year, even more so, I think we're going to have our Christmas dinner on video conference with my mom in Italy, for example. So, which I don't think I'm going to ever forget because although it's completely digital. So have you thought about how people might, give different answers if they were asked those questions about how these rituals are become memories and how become remembered? Or is there something have you thought of yourself as, someone who loves Christmas and also knows an awful lot about how technology kind of plays a role in everyday life?
Yes, there are a few things. So first of all, one of the things is that things become memorable by being exceptional. So if this is the first virtual dinner in a long line, you would remember this one because it's going to be the first one, but maybe the one in 5 years' time you won't remember it. If this is going to be the only one, then again, it's another element of remembering. But if you take the long line, it's difficult to single out one time unless something exceptional comes to that. Definitely there is more and more digital. For example, what are you going to do? Have you considered if you want to record it or record part of it? We are thinking, for example, one tradition that has always been in the family is opening the presents first thing in the morning when we were in Italy. So are we going to do it? And we had the rituals from the youngest to the oldest. Are we going to do the same? Why now we have, youngest are here and the oldest are there, how we are going to do it. One thing about the digital is that it is transient, but is also very fragile. There is a full branch of information studies and librarianship, how you preserve the digital content for the future. If you look back 10, 15 years ago, they were talking, for example, make the microfilm. Those are going to last for thousands of years. Now, if you want to see a microfilm, you have to go in a library, because at that time, that was the technology that was there, and the library was a repository of these things. Now you have everything on a memory stick or even in the cloud. But while you know that the file is going to be there, the fact that you will be able to access it, to see it and use it in 20 years' time is not sure. If we go back to the Bitcoin, if I give you a banknote today, in 150 years' time, and you have never changed it and never used it, that becomes an object you can go and sell it for probably very valuable, because it's going to be very rare. If you have a Bitcoin and you don't use it, what's going to happen? Will you be able to use it? It's not, there is something that is fragile, again, with the digital.
So let me dig in here a bit deeper. I think so. One of the questions, I think we have seen very little digital gifts practice. I think there has been some research, you have done some, there has been a number of people, if you look into Kai, there has been sort of a handful of papers on digital giving, on digital gift wraps. So there has been very little, but I think if we look at what people do, I think going back to the 70s and 80s, when I was younger, sort of mixtapes, I think we had this last week, which is sort of a digital gift where you spend some time, one of the things you said, you spend some time, you created something. We recently recorded for a colleague a get well card, a digital one, where everybody said one word, and one of our colleagues made this into a, so basically everybody recorded it, and he cut it into a really nice video with heads changing by the word, quite a nice thing. So again, sort of, there are practices, and I think this is sort of one thing. Are we just not yet there? And also our environments, we don't have digital picture frames yet, so some people have, and I think this may change how we use digital. So this is the one question. So are we just not good at creating digital gifts yet? And the other one, there is this relationship between digital and physical. I go to this later, which is the laser cutting side, the 3D printing side. But I think first is, are we not good? Because I think there are a lot of creativity in creating digital content. I think music, for my generation, music has a physical representation, which is a CD or a vinyl. If you go to basically kids who are now 15, music doesn't have a digital representation. It is sort of something you know and you get whenever you need it. So is there a generational thing, and don't we have sort of, are we miss the creativity in creating digital things?
I don't think we, the problem is not the creativity, because there is a lot of, as you said, there is a lot of creativity. Louis before was mentioning digital Christmas cards. I remember my sister sent me the first digital Christmas card probably 10 years ago, probably more than that. But there was no way to save it, to keep it, to have it somewhere. So yes, you have your music is on your CD, or you have your DVDs. Do you have a way to read it? It needs a lot of effort. You really, the reason for me why we are not so good with digital is because it's boring. All the management of that is really boring. Because, for example, to make sure that your file is accessible, you will to start from the very bottom level. Make sure that the file is readable. Is that on a CD? Then do you have the computer to read it? Do you have the software on that computer to be able to read it and to see it? So in a sense, you have to imagine to encapsulate the hardware and software in itself, so that in itself can stay for a longer time. There is a question of power. How do you guarantee that it's going to be powered? That doesn't, the battery is not going to explode. I found recently my iPhone 3. I wanted to see what was inside, and I plugged it into to charge it, and the battery exploded, and my iPhone 3 just opened up. So there isn't, digital has not been thought to be something that lasts 50 years, 10, 50, 20 years in the future. So we are very good to prepare it, but we are not skilled to preserve it for the future. We're not skilled to create it, and it's very boring anyway. If you do something with paper, if you have something physical, you can put it in a box and it stays there, and 150 years down the line, your descendants, you're going to be able to find it. If you do something with digital, there is no guarantee unless you spend effort. First of all, you have to gain the knowledge, what you have to do with the digital stuff to preserve it for the future. And second, it's a lot of boring work to do to keep it for the future.
Okay, so we have one question in the chat, and I think Sebastian, are you online?
Yeah.
Okay, please.
I have a question. Are there any studies about the impact of different digital gifts? Maybe how people remember them, liked them, or found them useful?
I don't recall studies specific on digital gifts. Apart from, there's been a study recently about gifting a visit at a museum, but it was an app that allows you to create this gift and to pass it on. There are, I think, a lot of seeds that show you the value of the digital gift, but it's not that different from the physical. So one thing that I really would like to underline is that we tend to see the digital and the physical as the two opposites to one another, while actually the practice we have are very similar in both cases. So we can spend a lot of effort to craft something physical for a friend and family, or we can spend a lot of time to craft in the digital to someone else. So the practice are very similar. And what I've seen is that people create digital crafty things for special occasions. For example, an example was the 50th wedding anniversary of the grandparents, and the child that created a very playful animation. And that was kept, somewhere in a computer, but then that disappeared. So there are examples, very interesting example of digital gift, if you like.
And I think we have a follow-up question from Dimitar. Can you unmute yourself? And if not, I'm just reading it out.
Yes, unmuted. No, he muted.
You probably mean me because there's another Dimitar.
Not you.
Okay.
Sorry,
so,
I had to run.
no problem.
No, it's you. It's you. I just was basically my search interface where I clicked on the wrong person. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. So the question is, so from the scenarios that you just explained from this video, for example, with the different colleagues. I guess this is rather more about an experience and sharing that colleagues are caring about a particular person rather than aiming for having a persistent digital artifact that will last forever. So the question is, are digital artifacts, or should digital gifts actually aim for persistence or rather for experience?
And I think I highlighted with an example that just came to mind is basically giving a bar of chocolate, which we commonly do, which has, at least in my environment, very little persistence. Is this sort of, is this very similar to the digital one?
It depends on the chocolate. Have you ever tried the 94% of cocoa chocolate? You would never forget it because it's like eating grit. So I love dark chocolate, but that is not something I would give. I don't see the two as opposite. You know, you could have an experience that is persistent in the future. I don't see why you should choose for one or the other one. If something is valuable and important, you should try to preserve it. And then, we go back to square one of being idiosyncratic. For me, it's important to keep something there. I have some heirlooms from my family 150 years ago and probably older, but I like to keep them. There was an uncle that passed away at the beginning of COVID, was a collector of archaeological pieces. And other people have called exactly the same pieces that for me are very important. Old vecchi cocci, old pieces of pottery. So the value that we give to certain things is really personal. So for me personally is important, the experience is important, but it's important the persistent. I like to have them in the future. And one of the things that I found in my studies, things change a lot depending on your age. So when you are a child or a teenager or a young person, you're focused on today. When you start to be a parent, when you're a parent, then you start to care for preserving the memory of your children so that later on in life, they will be able, if they want to revisit that part of their life. And when you are older, your role becomes the one to pass on to the next generation. And that really changes the perspective of, and that type of approach is across. It's not only in my studies of personal memories. You've seen there are, Mikchen Cimali has done a fantastic work on the value of objects. And you can see this change in generation, how different generations perceive different objects. So, I'm sure that as a young person, you prefer to have the experience. for me, I like the experience, but I like also the idea that is something there for me for the future, or that I can pass on to the future generations.
I think that's a really interesting point. Also, I think sort of the other example that came to mind was giving somebody a book, which we regularly do. And I think giving the physical book, a lot of people keep the book, even so I have rarely read a novel twice. But I still have them. So I think giving it digital would, from a practical and pragmatic sense, would be completely fine, because I don't care if I cannot read it in 5 years. But I think from a emotional side, and I think with this, I have one bigger question to everybody, and we can use the chat for this, because we said we want to collect ideas for last-minute digital gifts that you would like to receive. So I think what we can start with the next question coming up, Flora and Michaelis is the next to come up. So, but I think use the chat to put in digital Christmas ideas, which we can still, Christmas Eve, that's basically where we give in Germany, 25th, whereas in the UK, there are still 2 days. What are good digital Christmas gifts? If we are from that generation that can live without a physical representation, but it should still create memory. So put it into the chat, and I think we'll go through this. But first, Florian, can you unmute yourself?
I think he said he cannot because of his environment.
Okay, I try again, sort of, let me see. Florian, can you try again? Okay, I try if I... Can you try?
Yes, I can try. I'm in a subway, so it may be horrible. So my question is there any evidence of people giving apps or props of games to each other? Have you seen that? Are people doing this?
No, I've not. And in the, however, you know, that doesn't, the fact that I've not seen it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's probably a niche where I've not looked. I never looked at video games and or playing environment. Maybe that is something that happens. However, when we did the first study on the Christmas in the family, we explored one of the concepts was to have a wish list or a Christmas crackers, and so Christmas crackers, for those that are not in the UK, Christmas crackers are strange things. They're made like a gigantic sweet, wrapped sweet with the two sides. Inside there is a little gunpowder, so that when you pull, you're supposed to pull it. So the two people grab the two sides of the Christmas crackers and they pull, and there is a little explosion. Inside there is generally a gift, a small gift, a paper crown that you put in your head, and a joke. So what we did in this experiment, we were exploring the idea of creating apps of this sort, so like Christmas crackers, or some playful wish list. And that was didn't go well with the group that we involved at that time. As I said, it was 12 years ago, so probably things might have changed, and now people could appreciate much more being given a digital app. You know, in the past, it was quite normal for people playing games to receive the game. The game that you would put inside your PlayStation, whatever device you had. So could be the same. I don't know.
I just put in virtual Christmas crackers into the chat, because there's a paper by Alan Dix, and if you don't know what a Christmas cracker is, you get a good explanation there, and somebody has tried the virtual stuff there.
He sent me one every year. I think I received one today, and probably you have received it as well. But you know, we go back to square one. Yes, it's not different to giving a voucher if I give you an app. I don't know. And then I'm a material girl. You know, you were talking about books. I'm the only one in my family who still reads books in paper, and I try to read them on a tablet or Kindle. I just cannot. It doesn't bring to me the same engagement, the same feeling, and I'm old-fashioned. No way.
Okay, so I quickly go through some of the things we were told in the chat. And it's quite a lot. Yeah, let's see.
There were some donations, which I also
donations, exactly. Then sort of things for games, like gifts in World of Warcraft, a new dress for your favorite game, and you sort of, and I think this could be also vouchers where you basically can buy stuff inside games.
I was thinking, some of these are very interesting. Gift inside the game, or a ticket for a digital performance. For me, what would be important is that you will be there at the same time. So you share the experience. It's not just gifting, you can attend that event, but I will be with you. And so we have something to share as friends.
Fiona proposed like a digital card with a QR code for like a playlist. And some of you may remember that we had a mixed reality Christmas card from Stuttgart, where we had this like, Eva, you are smiling. I think you tried to build it. I don't know if you were successful or not. So we have, as we also have the conversation on mixed reality, it could of course be also hybrid. So what else do we have? Self-made painting. We have a lot of video and movies.
You have reading the list of the gift. That reminded me of one of the card that I was used to receive from Albrecht a few years back, when there was a. So you receive this card that you have to build, and there was generally. Could have been just 3D printed and then you have to assemble it. But there were a couple of times, in one case was a magical lantern that you had to, with the USB charging. But the one that I really, for me was the top, was how do you call the place where Jesus is born, the hut, whatever.
I just put I put a link to the paper into the, so this was basically our Christmas card, where we also got a paper or a work in progress out of, it was about tangible user interfaces, where basically the stable is put onto a device and you basically backlight it by this one.
That was, for me, was really great, because you have, you are building it, but you don't know what that is. So something that digital does very well is the element of surprise, the unexpected. And so you build something, you build up the expectation something is going to happen, but you don't know what's going to happen. I can give you an idea for the next Christmas, digital Christmas. You can start now. And this is one of the concepts that we have developed, although I don't think we have ever published it yet. Probably I'm going to spend this Christmas time writing the paper, the last Christmas paper with the last study that was never published for this. Anyway, collect digital content once a month, and then create a digital advent calendar for the people that you care about, and that is your shared memories. And so you can build it up toward Christmas. So it's not going to be, it can't be a last minute thinking, but it has to be last minute in November, assembling something that is special. And because part of the Christmas is building up, and something that you do very well in Germany is the Advent with the 4 candles. And that is, again, you see how things are building up to Christmas. So
I think I read another one which I quite like. This Eleonora had written this, arrange some time together doing activities that you and the other person likes to do. I like the idea of recipes, so cooking together, baking together, playing board games, and you can do many of these things online. So I think this is also something, it probably needs, you need to really think what is a nice thing for the other person, but I like this. And I think there is a lot on this, the creating digital content. So basically what I usually find really bad is how Facebook creates these friendship videos. Sort of you have known that person, it creates a really bad video. But I think such a video with the content on Facebook or other social networks or my phone, I probably can create a much nicer video, which again sort of could be something, again, a digital gift that somebody would probably like in a way.
Because you cannot substitute your knowledge and appreciation for the other person and knowing what is valuable. An algorithm cannot do it.
So I think there is Mauro. Are you here? You have also a comment. Do you want to go on speaker? So can you unmute your microphone, Mauro? It seems. So perhaps Mauro comes back at some point. Susanne had also an interesting idea. And I think, Susanne, if you want, you could unmute and say it, or I can take it up. You're still muted. Can you unmute?
Now it works. Does
Yes.
it work? Okay, good. Yeah, thanks. I think one of the recent thing is, I don't think this is in my well, self-chosen home office. I have hundreds of old, what is that in English? Diapositive, like positive slides from my father, who died some years ago. So what I actually recently did, I did some digitization, and once in a while I find something very nice. I send it to all my relatives. So it's a nice impulse on getting into a discussion. But it's not like me digitizing everything and put it on a CD and ship it. But it's also that I would actually more or less recreate memories, and then you get a nice WhatsApp messages like this. Very much. So it's not overwhelming your relatives with hundreds of images, but picking cute examples. That was also very...
Okay, so I think Mauro is with another person online. So you had two comments. Do you want to put them in?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Hi, Mauro.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have my baby with me here, so...
All good?
Well, so my comments were related to in general, so the digital things still having very low emotional impact. So Daniela comments about this digital greeting cards people used to send by email from 15 years ago or something like that. And they were nice, but there was something very anecdotal. So I don't remember basically the last digital card I received, and I received some. So and related to that comment is in some point perhaps might be the possibility to make those things physical objects. Perhaps if you, as Albert commented before, 20 years ago, and I remember those times when you do the job to go to a disc store and get a CD and record a tape for a friend or something like that. So perhaps we can do something similar in these times. We can, I don't know, in some point get some type of self-playing USB memories with a playlist, for example, that you can give. And it will be something physical. It will imply some effort to at least to buy it. And then, so and in some point we will be crystallizing digital content into solid objects. It might last for longer than an anecdotal memory for one holiday or something like that. So, and in some point I think people will start talking about 3D printing and crafting and maker culture. So perhaps we are going in that direction in general. So trying to make digital things into physical stuffs will make more meaningful for the people.
So I think that the maker keyword I would pick up sort of again. So I think this question, and I think Daniela had it earlier, it's not either or, it's not digital or physical. It's really sort of, there may be something, one may be a representation of the other, or the other may be a representation. I think also what Susanne said, you take a picture. We did this last year. We found old documents of my parents and we just took pictures of them and again sort of distributed them to others. And so I think this question, physical, digital, the transitions may be also sort of a source for interesting things. So there are more things that come in. Oh, I think Laura, do you want to sort of, I think the intent question, I think that's a really interesting one.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was interesting because I just received a digital gift from somebody yesterday, and it was interesting because up until then I kind of had a similar experience, like how would you perceive a digital gift, like how would you respond to it? But I got a very meaningful one from my sister yesterday that was like it was pretty close to my interest. It was clear that there was a lot of effort, like what Louis was mentioning here, that went into it. And it was purely digital. It was just a video, but it was a really nice video that represented our, I suppose, relationship with each other. And I just thought it was one of the best gifts that I've ever received, actually. And I think it's also important to consider the intent, because I think it reflects on some of the points that we talked about before. Like, for instance, Albrecht was talking about the Facebook video that was automated and generated, where algorithms were involved, versus the effort, as Louis was talking about, that's put into it. It's almost like the intent and the thought that I feel is really awesome behind a gift. And so I just thought I'd just raise that.
It's absolutely true. You know, it goes with what Susanne was saying, and the fact that, you know, it's not all the bulk of the digitized slides that is sent. Is the one meaningful, the few meaningful, with some explanation and the care that you put into crafting these digital or physical objects that you send, the value and the gift, and is not different from a physical one. The gift should show the connection between the two people. In this case, your sister, of course, knows you very well. She has been able to put into this video all of this value and the personal connection you have. And I'm sure it's the same for a physical object. But I'm sure you all have received a lot of gifts, physical or digital, that you forgot immediately. The physical probably ended up in the charity shop, still in their own gift wrap. So the gifts should show the effort of the person, the value, the consideration. Is not just, you know, take this stuff. It's not the Bitcoin.
Susanne had a comment on the 3D printing, and her mic is on.
I think that was something I thought which would involve in the future, that maybe someone on the other side, maybe you yourself, or maybe in your maker lab, that you can just walk in, or in a local print shop, that you get a specific 3D printed thing. One was, I think cookies are very famous. So you made this exactly cookie mold where your family loves, or it is maybe a special name or anything like that. And then it would resonate with what Luigina said. So if it's really you put some effort into that, you did some personal time on designing it and making the 3D model, it would then maybe really resonate as saying, okay, it was really a gift. It was not just from a shop and then I sent it, but it was something I spent time into, which I did maybe some 3D decoration, and then you can print it and have it. I think that would definitely create, for me, I would say, a big memory and a bit a huge value to me, someone dedicating this to me. And I think in the future, this could be done if the 3D and printing on the other side is becoming more popular.
And this brings to me one of the anecdotes for one of my studies. exactly what you said, you know, a lot of effort putting in giving something to another person, but the other person doesn't, the taste is very different. So for example, this person received something from the mother who said, it's horrible, you know, the crafting thing is not nice, but this really represents my mother in all her quiche taste and all the rest. So it is like, you know, you might create some conflicts about, you know, your own aesthetic and the value that comes from the other person, but what is important is the other person being done with love. Maybe you keep it in a drawer. This person didn't, by the way, it was there on display.
I think Albrecht and I, we want a bit to wrap this up, even though it's a hot topic, especially the ones that are meant to be nice, but we have different tastes. So I think what we can summarize is that time and effort and like the intent is very important to us. And Albrecht, I don't know if you want to continue.
No, I think what I take away, and I think Daniela was very sort of strong on that throughout the hour and didn't bulge, is basically the relationship between memory and gifts. And I like that. I think we tried to push her, but she really stayed her ground, that sort of you cannot see gifts without memory. And I think that's something, again, sort of also as a takeaway message, if you now think what gifts you can still create last minute, keep that in mind, that gifts are about creating memories, about sharing memories potentially. So I think the link between gifts and memory, which I didn't really think that much before, I really liked that, and also that you fought for it the whole hour. And I think with this we are close to the end, and we don't want to send you off without an invitation for next year. So we start again on January 12th with Mel Slater, one of the old people of We Are. And then on the 19th with Susanne, who was here today and also contributed today. So, and for the 26th, it's still not fixed, but we'll guarantee there is somebody interesting. And with this, I think we wish you a very good holiday time. Merry Christmas to those who have the party, and to those who are sort of somewhere on them by themselves. We wish you that you use digital technology to stay connected to the people you love, and also take care of people who you would otherwise have visited. Try digital technologies, and with this, happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, and take care and stay safe. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for inviting me, and happy holidays to everyone. And make memories, they're important for you and the future generations.